Hey, uh, hello. Um, so let's do it this way. Tell the audience a little bit about you, and then I have some questions for you.
Sure. So my name is Gerardo Kerik. I'm a marketing consultant, fractional CMO, and pretty much an AI consultant lately.
Hmm.
I spent over 25 years in large corporate American companies like Disney, Time Warner, and other consumer goods companies. The last 7 years owning my own WSI practice, where we focus on helping businesses growth, drive growth, drive sales, and deal with the challenges of digital transformation. You can probably notice from my accent that I'm not from the US. I was born in Argentina, grew in Mexico, have worked in London, have worked in the United States, and I've been in Atlanta for the last 20 years.
Well, I'm also not from the United States, but in a weird family history kind of thing, my parents decided they were going to scrub mine and my sister's accents so that we would sound like we're from Ohio or something. So when I eventually moved here, it wasn't as much of a transition, I guess. That's a whole
Oh,
other
that's
story. We don't have to go into that.
interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. I have a younger brother. My parents didn't bother
Uh-huh.
scrubbing his accent. So we don't
So where you
sound
so
like
where are
we're
you
from
from?
the same place. I'm from a place with a
Where,
very distinctive accent, Newfoundland, the island of Newfoundland in Canada on the East Coast.
oh,
My
okay.
family's
Yeah. No,
been
you
there
don't.
since the 1700s.
Right. Well, you
I
don't.
don't know.
You don't sound that way.
No, I don't. Hey, so let's dig into some. I'm going to take advantage of your wide experience here. Um,
Sure.
right off the bat, right before we get into more specific stuff, what are you work with a lot of companies, you work with a lot of clients now. What do companies not understand about talking to their marketplace?
Well, I think this is a problem that comes across almost any industry that I talk to. Many companies want to talk a lot about themselves
Mhm.
and are not that concerned on understanding, um, you know, their customers and what they need. So it's all about me, and what I do instead of you, and what problems you need solving. Right. So I think that is
Right.
one of the biggest uh, surprises that I find, because you would imagine in some of these organizations that they would be very customer centric, and customer centric is rare,
Yeah.
right? And those companies that are customer centric are obviously of a much higher marketing quality than others, but it's a rare feat to find them. So that's why people like me have jobs.
Yeah, me too. I tell them, um, when I show up with a new client, or I'm probably they're probably going to hire me. I'm normally brought in by a fractional chief marketing officer or a fractional chief revenue officer.
Hmm.
And I tell them, you probably have lots of people who can tell your story.
Hmm.
It's my job to tell that marketplace their own story, but now with you in it.
Hmm.
So
Exactly.
they aren't sitting around waiting for you to tell them their story. That's I said it's
Exactly.
getting them to sit still while you talk about yourself is much more difficult and much more
Hmm.
expensive than just telling them their own story with you in it. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right. So then, what are you? What are the biggest shifts you're seeing in marketing strategies over the years and going into 2025?
I mean, there's obviously every year there's a harder shift towards digital, right?
Yeah.
Digital transformation, more and more and more and more, right? And that this started, a decade ago, right, with social media and with Google, how budgets started to move from above the line activities more towards performance driven activities, and that hasn't stopped, because now that you have way more channels you can choose from, way better data to be able to measure results and attribution. So I see that that's becoming um, way more prominent
Hmm.
in all budgets and plans. And obviously now with the artificial intelligence, that's actually changing the whole ballgame, right? Because now
Right.
we're figuring out much more rapid and efficient ways to test advertising, to test messaging, to adapt very quickly, to come out with with new campaigns for A/B test, and
Yeah.
that's allowing marketers to really do very very rapid firing. And not everybody's ready for it. Not everybody's ready for it, but that's coming, and that is
Yeah.
something that is going to really change the industry. Another trend that I think a lot of marketing teams are starting to discover is that again through AI we're reducing costs. Right, copywriting is way cheaper now with AI,
Yeah.
translation, adaptation. So all of those processes are actually getting looked at across all industries, and that's a very massive change.
Yeah. So the economy has been all over the place for the last few years, right?
Mhm.
Between the pandemic and all kinds of stuff and recent stuff. And so, right now, how do you see the economy influencing marketing strategy and priorities with your clients?
Well, so what I've seen with clients, particularly last year, was a slowdown. A lot of
Right.
people were holding their budgets and trying to figure it out. We had a reduction in closing sales, but funny enough, when you look at our when we look at our pipeline, we do have an increase in lead generation, and increase in we hold our metrics in terms of deals opened in the pipeline, proposals presented, but we had a big drop in closings. And when we dig deep and investigate what caused that, we were not losing those deals to other agencies or to other consultants. Those deals were not going forward. Companies were deciding not to engage. So obviously last year I think it was very affected by that. We saw an uptick this year. So this year we've seen clients starting to engage in projects and starting to plan for next year.
Right.
um, but funny enough, the last couple of months have been very slow. I think people were really waiting to see what would happen with the
Yeah.
elections. And they you know and I know this is probably a super super tiny sample, but last week and this week I got 4 calls to quote on 4 different projects that just happened, and that's very rare to have four
Yeah.
calls of an actual project coming within 2 weeks. um, which I think it's a signal that people are starting to get ready to spend
Right.
again.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Do you think there's any like tactics that are delivering marketing tactics or channels that are delivering like really great ROI or will for the duration of 2025?
Well, TikTok is working really good.
And
Yeah,
almost all the views on this podcast come from TikTok,
I
so I
know.
can't
I know
complain.
it's been a great success for you.
Yeah.
We're testing TikTok. It's working really well. Many clients are not wanting to engage with TikTok now because of all the talk about being banned
Yeah.
in the US. But I think with the Trump administration, I think that might change.
Hmm.
And if that changes, I think that's going to be a channel to keep an eye on. LinkedIn is very interesting too. LinkedIn is expensive,
Yeah.
but if managed correctly, it's for B2B, it's a very important channel, and I
Yeah.
think it could drive very good ROI. But you have to have the right product, and you have to have the right campaign structure, right? Because
Right.
being B2B, you have to think through differently, right? It's more about lead generation. You need to have very good lead magnets that is actually driving people through all of the different steps of the funnel. So it's a more complex process, but for high ticket B2B items, I think LinkedIn is really, really strong.
Well, yeah. LinkedIn is our second largest source of views for this podcast
Hmm.
after
Yeah,
TikTok.
I'm not surprised. Your podcast is a B2B podcast.
Yeah. Um, so you talked about like new inquiries coming in this week, just this week alone. Um, has the process of finding clients changed in the last year or so, or do you think it's about to change for fractional CMOs or marketing consultants?
Well, I think that's a tough question, right? Because I think every fractional CMO you speak to will have a different playbook, right?
Well, I have a different question for you that's related. Is
Okay.
there a truth about when you're a fractional CMO, you're a marketing consultant? Is there a truth about finding clients that most of the fractional and marketing folks you talk to just don't want to accept?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
Is there something that you know they should be doing or a way that they should be thinking in order
Yeah.
to get more clients, but they just
Yeah.
won't do
Oh
it?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
For
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
There's a saying, the riches are in the niches,
Yeah.
right? And I think the one thing that it's super important if you are offering a service like fractional CMOs to is to pick a vertical and become an expert in something,
Hmm.
right? And when you do that, then you become valuable for that vertical, right? And a lot of people don't want to do that because they feel that by picking a vertical, you're letting go of so many other options for business, which you're really not. Because if somebody wants to work with you and they reach out to you, you can still
Hmm.
work with them. But what allows you to do is to be very laser focused on your marketing messaging, how you invest your money, where you invest your time and resources. So the challenge there is to pick up a vertical that there's enough pain in there that you can solve, and there's enough people with pain that you know you can have a business coming out of it, right? But I think it's very, very important, and a lot of people don't do that. It took me a while to pick a vertical, so
Yeah.
I'm um, I'm guilty of that too. But once you do that, things start to align and things
Hmm.
start to work for you.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Right. I only write four things. That's it.
Yeah.
And being able to cut out most of what most people write has been phenomenal for sales. For phenomenal for sales.
Yeah, because people start remembering you, right? They know,
Yeah.
yeah, they say, "Oh, Dean writes for FCMOs, right? And this is what
Right.
he does," and they know how to, that's
Yeah.
what we're trying to fight
Yeah.
for,
I tell
right? Which
people,
is
look, you're gonna
memorability.
you're gonna be in a box or a cupboard in someone's head. If you're not in a very specific cupboard, you're in the junk drawer.
Yeah,
And the junk drawer is the last place anyone goes to look for anything. If
yeah,
they think they know the cupboard they should go to.
yeah,
You don't have a choice. You're gonna be in a cupboard or you're gonna be in the junk drawer.
yeah.
You don't
And,
ha- you get to choose which one you're in, but you don't get to choose whether you're going to be in one or the other. You're going to be in one or the other. Pick one.
A- Absolutely.
Yeah.
And listen, being in a vertical doesn't mean that you're married just to that vertical,
Hmm.
right? So people that build a strong presence in one vertical, then can start building strong presence in a second vertical,
Yeah.
right? But you can do that after you've actually succeeded in that first vertical, right?
Yeah.
And so I know people that work on 3 or 4 verticals, but now they have very unique messaging, very unique playbooks for each because each vertical will behave differently, right? So and would have different needs and probably would have different pain points. So it's important to understand that, because then each of those efforts has its own playbook, and that's fine, and
Yeah.
that's fine because you can specialize that way.
I tell companies because some of them are just very reluctant. They think they're leaving money on the table if they like get too specific. And so I sort of comfort them and I say, look, you can say over time absolutely everything you want to say,
Hmm.
but one thing has to go first. There has to be something that's said first.
Hmm.
And if you try to say two things first or three things first, you might as well say nothing.
Hmm.
So you just you have to lead with something. So
Hmm.
pick a vertical, pick a niche, pick a type of work you do, pick a particularly like, rare or exotic or complicated thing that you're great at. Just lead with that.
Hmm.
And then when people become interested, you can tell them the other stuff. But you just can't say like, we're a supermarket. Like
Yeah,
nobody thinks about you then.
exactly,
All right.
exactly.
All right. You talked about earlier the last year budget's tightened up quite a lot around the economy and stuff. There are a lot of marketing people on the bench, so to speak, right?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
What are some of the challenges? Like, what would you advise a company that came to you and said, "Hey, we're looking to hire these three types of marketing people. Uh, we put up one ad for one person, and 4,000 people applied in a day. So
Hmm.
we can't handle that. So, like, how are we going to find quality people? Given that the problem is not that there aren't any to find, it's that there are too many who want to talk to us."
Oh, that's a very interesting
Mm.
challenge. I haven't thought
Yeah.
about that. I mean, like everything else, right? You have to set up the scope of what needs to be done.
Mm.
You know what? What are the boundaries of what you need, right? The minimum that you need, and then from what you have, you try to find people that fit that box, and I think
Well,
if they can do the job, if there's 4,000 people, just for argument's sake, that can do the
yeah.
job, you're gonna have to choose by what's a better fit for the culture on the
Mhm.
team, right?
What would you
Because
give? What advice would you give someone who comes to you and they say, "Gee, uh, this isn't a good match for you, but we do need to find a fractional chief marketing officer. How do we find a great person today, given how many people are saying they're fractional CMOs, and figuring out whether that person's going to be a fit for us?"
yeah, so I think a couple of things, right? So
Hmm.
if you have a lot to choose from, first of all, does this person in in your mind, do you want someone that has experience in your industry?
Right.
Sometimes that's important, or sometimes people want outside experience, right? People from other industries because they want to shake up things, right?
Hmm.
So that's the first thing. If you want somebody with experience in your industry, that's gonna reduce the amount of people you're talking to, right? Um, and then there's a lot of people saying that they're fractional CMOs, but they don't have fractional CMO experience, right? And when
Okay.
I talk about fractional CMO, I'm not saying that people need to have had a CMO title. Okay.
No.
For me, a fractional CMO is somebody that has led a large organization, was probably the top marketing person within the structure of the business they were working for, right? So if it was a VP or senior VP,
Right.
but then on top of that was a general manager, then even your title wasn't a CMO, you're a CMO. So you have to check credentials because I think there's a lot of people that are claiming to be fractional CMOs, but they do not have that experience,
Right.
right?
Well.
So I would check for that. Um, and then once you find the ones that do bring that experience, I would probably make sure that is the right fit for the culture of your organization. So if you're a $30 million company, $50 million company, you might want somebody that can work within that environment, right? If you're bringing somebody that is a fractional CMO but used to work in corporate America, can that person transition to a small size
Right.
business, right?
Right.
Because it's a total different set of
Yeah.
challenges, right? And the opposite is true, right? If you're $100 million company, $150 million company that is looking for a fractional leader, is the person that you're hiring where does that person come from? Does it have experience in small, medium-sized businesses? And maybe what you want is somebody that comes from a larger business than yours, because what you're trying to do is scale up, right? So I
Right.
would I would frame the question that way. What is it that we're trying to achieve with this position,
Hmm.
right? What are the key um, aspects that we're looking for the person that is going to come into this? Do we need somebody that's going to manage and not grow as much and make us more efficient, or we want a visionary that is going to take us to the next step? And from there, then you can start maybe doing a better selection of what you have available,
Okay.
right?
I have a hypothetical situation for you.
Hmm.
You're on stage. You're the speaker.
Hmm.
Everyone in the audience became a fractional CMO yesterday. They're brand new. It's their first full day as a fractional CMO, right? And they want you to finish this sentence. So they want you to finish this sentence. A fractional CMO starting today is going to be surprised by what? What about being a fractional CMO is going to be surprising to most of them?
Okay. He's going to be surprised about how many companies
Mm-hmm.
have not figured out their marketing function.
Yeah.
They have a sales operations and marketing has been a support and have not figured out their marketing function. And if they're bringing you in,
Right.
it's because they need you to help them figure that out. And that
Right.
means
You're not going to
brand,
step on a train that's
community,
already moving.
strategy. Yeah,
You're expected to build the train and maybe lay the tracks.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
And also, they're going to be surprised. I'm going to add another one. They're going to
Yeah.
be surprised about how much they expect to deliver quick.
How much the clients would expect you to deliver
Yeah, quick.
quickly. Yeah.
Because most businesses that are bringing a fractional leader, they're not bringing it to think, oh, we want to build a strategy for the next 2 years.
Right.
It's like we have a fucking issue today, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need you to come in and clean the house and help us, put some order into this mess.
All right.
So yeah, you don't
Okay.
have much
So
time. You don't have much time to build
yeah,
credibility.
that is very true. In fact, most of my business relies on that fact. Most of my business relies on the fact that a fractional CMO starts, they don't have a lot of time to impress that client.
No.
Most of my specialty is I do the kind of writing that, allows you to impress the client fast. That's the
You, ha-
reason
you
why
have
I get
you have
hired over
90
and over.
you have 90 days.
90 days.
90 days, and after 90 days, if you've done a good job, then that can
Mm-hmm.
extend to 6 months, a year,
Yep.
etc. But if you don't do a good job, you have 90 days.
Okay. When you're talking to clients or you're talking to other marketing people these days, what type of message, what channel, what tool, what idea do you think is overrated? Right? It's not delivering, even though everyone talks about it. And what is sort of underrated that people don't appreciate how good it is? Like, is AI overrated right now or underrated?
I'm gonna
Is
answer.
digital overrated or underrated?
I'm gonna answer to you in a way that
Yeah.
it's a little bit tricky. I think AI is overrated and it's underrated.
Yeah.
Both. Okay. So I think it's overrated in the sense that people are thinking that AI, everybody can do AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, if I just pay for ChatGPT Premium and start doing my emails and my copy on a large language model, I'm doing AI, and I'm gonna do better. And that's overrated because that's gonna take you so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's underrated is AI too, because what happens with AI is that you can change workflows completely.
Mm-hmm.
You can change workflows that take you, and I know you do, and I know you actually do it with your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Something that could probably take you 3 4 hours, you can reduce it to half an hour,
Yep.
right? If you think about it, if you look at the workflow and you figure out how to use AI, and that's happening in every workflow in every company, right? So, for example, we are totally AI enabled, and we've managed to reduce our uh, time to proposal from 4 hours to 45 minutes,
Yep.
right? And they like that we're changing many things, and we're helping clients do that too. So we're doing when I introduced myself, I talked about we're growing pretty much into AI consulting because we've now put together an AI adoption roadmap that we're helping clients go through to help figure out how they can implement AI in their businesses. That goes beyond giving people access to ChatGPT or Anthropic or Gemini or
Right.
whatever they want to do. It's about, okay, how can we find um, low hanging fruit opportunities that could actually save you money, right? Or make things faster or better.
Right.
But so I think AI has those two sides of the coin. It's overrated in the sense of, oh, if we just use ChatGPT, it's going to be perfect and we're going to get great results. And it's underrated in the sense that people are not realizing that they actually need to be looking at this from a workflow perspective,
Right.
not from a use case perspective, and not from an individual perspective.
Yeah. If there's work that's sort of like grunt work or dull work or work that you don't do in your business. You know that you should, but it's kind of not worth hiring someone to do it. And you don't want to do it yourself because it would be too time consuming. That's an excellent place to start seeing if you can give that to AI
Hmm.
and have it done in seconds or minutes instead of hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. All right.
Exactly.
So, Gerardo, so who these days should contact you and how should they contact you?
Okay, so um, thank you for the question. I work with small, medium-sized businesses. That's a target
Right.
I look for, and I try to work with businesses that are either trying to sell, so they're looking for improving their performance today, so they can fetch a higher price,
Mm-hmm.
or with businesses acquiring others, like private equity funds
Mm-hmm.
or another business acquiring another business, and they need to integrate that business and they need to scale that business, right? So those are when we talked about niches, I worked in the niche of buy sell, right? And I'm a trusted advisor on both sides, and I come in operationally to help improve things so we can meet targets. So that's the first segment that I target with fractional CMO. But I also mentioned AI consulting, and the reason I bring it up is because I just see it as the next. I've always lived on the digital transformation frontier, right? So a lot of the work I do has to do with transforming businesses with digital tools, and AI is that next frontier of digital transformation. And a lot of the engagements and speaking engagements
Right.
and projects that I'm closing lately are coming through that um, that channel,
Mm.
helping businesses figure out what to do from an AI perspective to actually keep more money on their pockets.
Right.
Okay, so if a business is trying to figure out how to become more productive and are starting to think about how to move forward with AI, that's another great
Okay. And how
contact
should
for
they
me.
get in touch with you?
So they can look for me on LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
right? Gerardo Kerik, Kerik. They can look at my website, wsidigitalboost.com,
Right.
right? Or just send me an email, gkerik@wsidigitalboost.com.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks. This has been really good. I really liked, especially the answer around um, finding talent and how to pick a fractional CMO. I thought that was really good.
Thank
They
you.
were all good, but I really like that one. And
Thank
it's a way of thinking about it that I don't think anyone else has brought up before. All right.
you.
Well, so thanks very much, Harada, and thanks everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye.